Hey, thank you very much. This is a very short presentation. 1 hour. No, we'll cut it down. We'll make it even shorter, 40 minutes. I'm good at making short presentations. I can talk about I just talk about these all day. My passion is going into suppliers and learning what the business model is and how they can improve. So you can get insights as a buyer on how to better negotiate with suppliers, because the traditional way of negotiating with suppliers is to have a lot of options, have alternatives, have many quotes. You go into negotiation from strength. Well, we want to go a little bit deeper in that. What is the supplier's business model? In what ways can you, working with the supplier, help the supplier make money too? And until we go to the next level, your negotiation is incomplete. Your potential in the relationship is incomplete. So what I do, I'm the crazy professor that goes into the factories like here and to find out what is the business model of these suppliers. I video every factory that I go in. If I can't video, I don't visit the factory. And so you go into these factories here, this one at the top, Car Audio Products, they've got over 10,000 units of inventory, $3 million, 300,000 US dollars of inventory. 25% of that cost every year is the cost of holding such inventory. Here's a supplier making USBs for gifts handing out by corporate associations. There's not much in the quality inspection here, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because when you get a free gift, do you care if it doesn't work? See, both of these suppliers are profitable, but different business models. Until you find out what is the supplier's business model, your relationship opportunity is not as complete. Your negotiations are not as complete. We can go on a trade show floor and see different Bluetooth headphones. Let's go for the cheap one, $6.50 unit here. And we can go for the expensive one, $18.50 FOB for 1,000 MOQ unit here. We can source from both of these. It may be more difficult to sell these on Amazon without having a very strong brand name, but that's only that's a partial picture of the two suppliers that you are buying from. What we want to do is go into the factory and see the difference between those two factories. Wow, I've got to change my clothes to go into this factory here. And by the way, when I went in here, they said, "Oh, sorry, we won't allow you to video." I said, no, I'm the professor. I do video or I don't come. And so they allowed me the video after I negotiated with them. But here is the $6.50 Bluetooth speaker, Bluetooth headphone factory. We go straight in here, but here you have immaculate QC set up with many managers watching my cameraman to make sure that they don't video their product IP. And so which one are you going to buy from? You can buy from both. It depends on what your strategy is. What I would say is, okay, when you go into the factory, you can see that the risk of this one, of you having product failure, is likely to be higher than this factory here. Am I right? Okay, so then your strategy is to hire third-party inspection or ramp up the inspection on this factory to accompany your 1/3 the price FOB, $6.50 US dollar Bluetooth headphone. So when you see the factory, that helps you get informed of the risk, and then you either dial down or dial up the third-party inspections. Both of these, you need to do third-party inspections. You can get away with minimal inspection here, but here you need to do several days to be comfortable. So you don't know that until you go and see the factory for yourself. So that's what I'm about. The next speaker, Brian Garvin, he actually goes in and does product inspections. He's going to talk a little bit more about that in preparation for inspection. So our 1-2 punch is very good for that. All right, so what else? You get what you pay for, and that's the big point of when you go into the factory. I've been asked to talk briefly about protecting your IP, and it's possible that you can protect your IP. You can start off with having all this legal mumbo-jumbo in the contract. Great, that's a starting point. But to be practical, the best way to protect your IP is physical protection. And who can we learn from in terms of physical protection? We can learn from startups that are developing their own prototypes, that are developing new products for the first time, and they don't want any competing products for the first 6 months, 12 months of their product launch. And that's all you're going to get. When you're protecting your IP, you're just looking for 6 months or 12 months protection. because the product life cycle keeps on going and going and going. And so there's a whole range of startups. I don't have time to talk about all of them. I want to show you some examples of some of these startups, how they protect their IP. I don't have video directly, but if we look at this skin detector device, Differderm, this is from the startup Launchpad, they actually went and manufactured it in Thailand to protect their IP. Okay, Gochi Tech. Very famous now because now their technology is accepted in the new iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10 coming, the iPhone X. And so this was on the startup Launchpad. How do they protect their IP? Because Matthew Chow, the owner, actually owns a factory in Dongguan, and he uses it as a black box factory, and all the components are sent to his factory and he puts it together there. And so the component manufacturers do not know what the final product looks like. Physical protection. Okay, and then Grom, they do digital 3D printed foot shape that go in your feet that podiatrists around the world would love to have for their clients. And so you get a digital imprint of a client, send it to Grom, they do the 3D printing in China and then send it back overseas, back to the podiatrist. That's easy to protect that IP because no one foot is the same around the world. So that's how Grom does it. So iDummy, how do they do it? They make an electronic mannequin that will expand and contract depending on the coordinates you type into a computer. It's connected to the computer. And so how do they protect their IP? They did equity joint venture with a major company in China. So through the equity joint venture, they were able to protect their IP. Okay, what's another way to physically protect your IP? Ambiclimate. This is a Hong Kong startup. They first off started with prototyping in-house in Hong Kong to keep it out of the eyes of factories in China. But when they decided that they had their final prototype ready, they just did a 500 units in a factory using cheaper tooling. So if the supplier wanted to keep running that tooling overnight, unknown to Ambiclimate, they could only make maybe another 500 or 1,000, not 10,000 or 20,000. Okay, soft tooling is one way to protect your IP. And then once they were sure that they would find the right factory, then they moved to a bigger factory, and then now they can get tooling that can run 20,000, 50,000. And so they didn't do that in the first way. Step by step. Physical protection is the way to protect your IP. Rotorex, they make drones, and their big IP was in the propellers. So the propeller manufacturer started making propellers out the back door, and so how Rotorex found out was their community found out and actually told Rotorex. So Rotorex went back to the factory and say, hey, what are you doing? We're going to shame you in the community and tell everyone, all the other buyers in the community of the propellers for the drones, don't buy from you, propeller manufacturer. The manufacturer said, oh, no, we'll stop doing that, okay? Please don't shame us in the community. Wow. Does community shaming work in China? Yes, in some industries. Okay, so there are some examples of physical protection of IP. What I want to do, I know you didn't come for that, you came for the good stuff. Yes, the stuff where I actually go in to the factory. What have we got here? What are we making here? Oh, come on. Hoverboards, we all love them. The US government loves them. They banned them last year until middle of last year they come up with the UL standard that allowed selective importing into the US by UL qualified manufacturers. The one at the top, DBK, Dr. Boy King, was the first to get the UL standard. And you can see by their factory, they really are high quality compared to this workshop here. Wow, this workshop here, I visited them after the ban came in place. They were making 600 hoverboards that day for a French client. Did they care about the US ban? No. They're selling to the Middle East, other parts of Europe, into South Asia. It doesn't matter, okay? Not all suppliers are selling to USA. This one is still going strong. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? The big difference is in receiving inspection. And so when you're sourcing a product, even if it's a backpack, I know you're in homeware around here, it's not electronics, this is electronic examples, but even in a backpack you may find a particular lug or a particular fitting that is your risk area, then you need to be very clear about the receiving inspection of that material that's coming from a particular supplier that you have in contract you want it to come from. So you've got to find out, not every part of your product may be at risk in terms of the quality. You've got to find the areas that are at risk and make sure receiving inspection. Here, they've got the batteries coming in and it's got Samsung written on the outside. I don't know if it's Samsung. You don't know either. Okay? Whereas here, they're testing every battery of those 20 cells that go into 4.4 amp hour battery that goes into the hoverboard. That's the difference between factories. The receiving inspection. A lot of the cheaper factories do not have a receiving inspection. No factory owner I have spoken to has told me that they find value in receiving inspection. Okay? So you need to work out whatever product you are sourcing, is there a component in that product that is critical? If there is, then you need to make sure that there's receiving inspection on that component. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go. What else do you need to look for? Outsourcing OEM. This happens all the time. The factories say, we're the factory. Yeah, maybe they start off being the factory, but then they end up outsourcing to someone else. You can have that conversation with the factory. Look, Mr. Factory, I know you've got lots of volume going on, you're getting lots of orders, and we do outsourcing in China, that's fine. Can I have, in the written agreement, access to the factory you're going to outsource to for the purpose of inspection, for the purpose of auditing, for any compliance standard that is relevant to the product that you are sourcing. And so here we have a factory at the top, smartwatch factory, both of them you could source from today. I was actually talking to, in the booth, 3 hours ago of this factory. But let me tell you that I'll tell you something about this factory in a minute, but which factory would you source from? They're both making identical smartwatches. Hands up for the top factory. Hands up for the bottom. No? Okay, the bottom one has lots of documentation here. The top one, beautiful uniforms, all dressed up. Okay, that top factory is gone. It's gone. Closed down. Oh, they're still selling smartwatches, but now they're outsourcing to another factory. And Best Stop is the name. You can see them over in Hall 6 after this talk. Go talk to them. Say, oh, I heard your factory closed down. Yeah, they'll tell you that. We opened up another factory. Yeah, this happens. All right, looks good. Gone. All right, the ladies here, they're touching the watches with fingers. Fingers have moisture. Moisture gets on that product. It does funny things. It attracts dust. It causes other malfunctions, especially if it's in electronics. Okay, here, how come this factory is still existent? How come this factory seems the workers have minimal uniform, but documentation seems to be in order? The big difference, this factory used to be an OEM supplier for a major Japanese brand. What happens if you're supplying to the Japanese? They actually send people over to monitor you every day. They come over, they teach you, and they watch you, and they do not let go until you get it right. The Japanese are very fastidious about monitoring. So this factory learned from the Japanese to get everything right. It's still existing. So look out for a factory that has experience with a major, maybe German, USA, or Japanese customer. Then you know, hey, maybe they learned something from that customer. That's a good sign, a signal that anyone can look for. You don't need a degree in engineering to work that out. Okay, I don't have a degree in engineering either, so I'm on your side. All right, here's another thing you look for in a factory, separation. Wait a minute, let's get this. Oh, it's working. Okay. What do we mean by separation? In electronics, it's very important that things are separated at every point of the production. Components are separated. Assembly is separated. No one component touches the other. Okay, everything needs to be separated. And they normally use foam boards. Here, it's all stacked on top of each other. I love the separation here. You've just got foam in between, but let's just stack them all together on top of each foam layer. Okay, so would you buy from the factory at the top? Yes, I would. That factory is still okay. It should be a signal, oh, this factory, there's a higher risk that something might go wrong, so let's do more inspection. You just dial up the inspection. You don't just want to go to a perfect factory. They'll price you out. You'll make no money. You'll make no profit from this factory. Oh, by the way, this factory was an audit I did for a client that I'm going to show you later. And in the end, they kept on putting the price up, and the client came back to me and said, I can't make any more money. I got a perfect product, but I can't make any money. All right? So be careful. Don't always look for the perfect factory. All right? Look for a less than perfect, but supplement that with good inspection. Okay? Dial up the inspection. Do more than what the statistical chart would say that needs to be inspected. Okay, what else can you do? What else can you do when you're in a factory? I mean, you don't need an engineering background to do the following. That is, there's a problem with this assembly line, car audio. How do I know there's a problem? There's a QC chart. There are the failures for this particular problem here. What is that problem there? Remember, all factories anyone you go to source from should have a QC chart like this. Go to this QC chart, find the problem. The micro SD card is not slotting in properly, or when it slots in, it's not touching all the contact points correctly, so it's not working. All right, so what do you do? Well, we do a cause-effect analysis. Okay, I ask the owner, take me to the operator that's doing the screwing. Let's go to the operator. Here he is here. He's doing the screwing here. You can do that. You don't need an engineering background to do this. Look, he's doing the screwing. There's no cradle to hold that to actually reduce the variation of that process. Fine, okay. Where else? What about the soldering? Let's go to the solderer. We've got to go around the other way of the assembly line. Let's have a look at the soldering. Here he is. I couldn't even do this. Just sit like that, cross legs, soldering. Look, moving as he's soldering. That causes variation, likely to cause defects. So I asked the supplier, put a cradle here. That doesn't move. Make everything here more stable, so you get less variation in that output of that process. You want to minimise variation at all points of assembly. So any one of you can do this. You don't need a background in engineering to just ask the owner, ask the factory, oh, I see the defects here. Oh, tell me where you think the defects are coming from. Is it receiving inspection, or is it assembly A, assembly B? Oh, show me. Let's go and have a look. Okay. Now, if there's any supplier that's not interested in your interest in looking at the causes, maybe you shouldn't source from them, because they're not going to be sustainable in the long run. In order to be sustainable, suppliers should be looking at these causes and making corrections over time. Okay. Great stuff. So what do you look out for in your factory? Receiving inspection, documentation, attention to detail, rejects. Always think about the mind of the supplier. Are they tuned in to making a good product? Okay? Or is their factory there just to make money so they can buy property? All right, just get that vibe when you visit the factory, because you want to work with a factory that's going to be around for your second order, third order, fourth order. That's your aim. All right, so let me take you through a real factory audit that I did for a client. I do factory audits, by the way. All right, so I'll take you through this, then we can go for questions. So here's our audit. Here's our picture frame. We're going to audit this picture frame. We've got 2 factories that make this frame. So where do we start our audit? We do desk research. Brian, is that right? Desk research first? All right, so we go to the website. So we have the blue and we have the red. We have CTS signage and Joy Hong. By the way, 90 minutes ago I was just talking to Joy Hong. They're over in hall 6 too, okay? So I told them, you kept on putting up the price on my client. All right, so let's have a look at what these 2 factories look like. Okay, again, website comparison. Do they have in their description that they make something? That is very key. You have to be a manufacturer if you write in here that you actually make something. Okay, that's very, very key here. Even before you go to the factory, they both make something, so we're on the right track. Okay, you've got the red, blue and the red. Okay, so now let's go into the 2 factories. Immediately, I didn't like this factory because I have to go up the stairs. This one, I can go straight in to on ground level. This is Joy Hong. This is CTS signage. Again, what is our product? It is a picture frame. Okay, so my client wanted to know, do I buy from this factory? Does the client buy from this factory here? By the way, just on another talk, these companies can save a lot of money by cutting 1/3 of their staff because they don't add any value. Okay, cutting inventory, cutting staff is a way to cut costs for these suppliers, replacing it with more streamlined Salesforce type web technologies. Okay, so we're going in now, so let's have a look at what they're doing. So we've got assembly on here, and they're making a Dougal that connects your phone to a TV so you can actually wisely send photos on your phone to the TV. That's what they'll make on the day we were there. On the day we went into Joy Hong, look, they were making smartphones, and I'm thinking, we want to order a picture frame from them, and they're making smartphones? Like, you know, this is high-end stuff. As I showed you earlier, they got full separation of all of the materials at different processes. Okay, you can see they've got the anti-static bands. All the operators have anti-static bands, and wired, not remote. You've got to have a wired band. Remote, no, that doesn't work as effectively. Okay, not all of these have anti-static bands on them, these operators here. So my point of the audit is to pick out differences or points of problems that may cause defects in the future. So let's keep going here. When you're in electronics, you need a burn-in room. So for 4 hours, 8 hours, all the units, 100% of whatever's made is turned on. They want to test the battery. Then they'll drain the battery. They should actually charge it up again. Not many of them do that, but there's a process here that needs to be taken care of. And what you're looking for is actually a documentation of that process. So you see the process, are they documenting it? That's critical, critical, critical. Okay, so now we go to another area. I like this because I don't have to bend down to put the shoe sock on my shoe. But in here, now we're going into an SMT room area. Windows are open as we go through. Let's have a look. There we are. We go straight through, no dust control door. Here, we've got dust control. They go in the phone box, and they blow everything around, and then we go into the clean room here. Okay? Big difference. Here, we got a lady on the smartphone. She's obviously doing work for someone else while she's operating the machine, making your product. Is that the type of person? Is that the type of company you want your product going through? Okay? That is amazing. Ladies on the smartphone while operating the machinery. Wow. Okay, so hands up if you like the blue, hands up if you like the red. Okay, obviously the red seems to have its act together. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so now we go into the showroom. And this is where I want to have a look at the picture frames. And so I found one picture frame here that they got a new fancy picture frame where the whole electronics board sticks out at the back, and that becomes the stand. The old picture frames, they have a pencil sticking out the back. And what I found with see the pencil sticking out the back, so the new ones, they actually take all of the electronics off the back of the board, and then they make it into a size about 1/3 the size, and then they stick it out the back. That becomes the stand. The problem is that when you touch that thing sticking out the back, that's hot. That's 60 degrees hot. Now, if that's on a mantelpiece, no problem. A marble mantelpiece, no problem. But what if a client or someone buys this and puts it on a flammable object? Okay, fire. Okay, lawyers love that sort of thing. Okay, you don't want to be the importer of record for something like that. So I told my client, don't buy that. It looks groovy, you might make many sales, but it only has to be one fire and you're out of business. Okay, so I said just stick to the old variety where the stick sticks out the bottom. You can make that difference. So I wouldn't have known that if I had not visited the factory. And see for yourself, go across to Joy Hong and have a look, and you touch the how hot those new fancy displays are. Yes, exciting, exciting. Okay, so now it comes to, now you're the job of a client. How much would you pay for the picture frame for the blue? Can we start at 17? Do I have 17 in the audience? 17 US dollars. Is that too much? They were told 20 US dollars they wanted. 20 US dollars FOB, and then the MOQ was 1,000. Okay, so what about Joy Hong? What are we starting up with them? They wanted 23. $3 more. You're ordering 2,000, suddenly you're paying 6,000 more for exactly the same picture frame. So, hands up, would you buy it from the blue? Hands up for the blue. You don't want to save $6,000? On 2,000? Yeah, you've got to be smart here. You're here to make money. All right, what about the red? You still want to do the red? Hands up for the red. Come on, you're going to be... No two factories are the same. Okay? And the big point I want you to take away from this example, sometimes the perfect factory has more power. And you might get a good order on the start. What about second order, third order? Let's see what happened. I told my client, let's go with red. Let's go with red. That's the order. We need to get it from red. Okay, so on the first order, 23 US dollars for 2,000 units. Less than 2 months later, we put in another order for 2,000. They put it up 26 US dollars. This is real. Last year it happened. Okay, third order. Of course, it's a different model, but now they say, oh, we want 28 US dollars. Client come back to me, Neil, I can't make money if they keep on putting the price up like that. I'm not in the business of just feeding the supplier higher and higher, higher price. But what can you do? Because Joy Hong is nearly the perfect factory. They have so much power. Their QC is nearly perfect. Okay? Perfect factories price you out of business. So I told my client, let's go back to the blue factory, pay you $20 US, but spend $1 US per unit on QC. So you're ordering 2,000 units, you spend 2,000 US on QC. Brian, how many days can I get with QC on 2,000 US? 5 to 7 days. That's more than enough QC you need for 2,000 units. Brian, yes? Yeah. All right, so different strategy. You're combining a weaker factory with QC, and that's what I've told the client to work with. So I just want to finish off with that example, real live audits. I'm the professor, but I'm here to deliver you actionable information. Now, the thing you want to take away is no two factories are the same. When you go into the factory, look for points of improvement, look for risk areas, and even, what are you sourcing, by the way? Backpacks? Anyone sourcing homeware or anything in this room? Why are you here? I thought you were here because you just walked past. You didn't come here to see me, all right? But yeah, if you're sourcing tents or backpacks, there must be one area that is risky. Maybe it's the zipper, maybe it's the eyelet, maybe it's never the whole product. There's always one risky part that gets a lot of use, am I right? Then maybe focus on the receiving inspection of that part. Do you know the supplier that is sending that part to the factory you're sourcing from? And then get third-party QC to make sure that receiving inspection is happening. You don't have to inspect all of the material. Look for the risky parts, inspect that part. Okay, giving you a limited budget. Let me just stop there. I hope they're practical takeaways and for questions. Come on, there must be a question.
Yeah, maybe you want to contact you afterwards.
All right, you contact me.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, thank you. Oh, well, we're ahead of time. It's good.